Good evening, everybody. Good afternoon, everybody. We'll begin today's session now. So this is the first question. Here you're given a passage. The question says, if the following passage describing a situation was to be made into a comic page, match the numbered dialogues with the appropriate bubble according to comic book conventions. So we are given in the paragraph, we're given a passage, and then there's some underlined statements. All these underlined statements will be a part of some or the other dialogue bubble, which is provided here. What we have to find is which of the statements will match with the appropriate dialogue bubble. First one. Meanwhile, at the college canteen, the manager was livid. Now, this is more kind of a narrative bubble, narration. So it will come into this thing called a narrative block. So D, which is a narrative block, this is where number 1 will come. Further, as we move ahead, how many times have I told you to keep a track of the orders? He screamed at the helpless waiter. Now here he is screaming. So obviously, this is a screaming voice which is associated with this bubble, which is really something when you're saying something on top of your voice or screaming or angrily speaking at something, at somebody, or blasting of somebody. So this will be 2. Everyone stood still and watched. What happened? Why is he screaming? Is number 3. So this is a normal conversation. So this goes in 3, which is a part of this normal dialogue bubble. I turned around to ask the person behind me in the queue at the counter. He bent forward and whispered. It's whispering, okay now? Nothing new. He screams at everybody at all the time. His staff hate him for that. This is whispering bubble, which is where A falls into picture. And the last one, oh, that's not fair. I thought to myself. This again is a thought bubble, so 5 will come. This is a thought, so that's why thought bubble will come. So the sequence that goes is 1D, 2B, 3C, 4A, and 5E. So option B is the one which is correct. Okay, move to the next one. Arrange the following video formats according to the evolution. Beta, U-matic low band, VHS, digital DG beta, U-matic high band. Now here, just by the logic of it, VHS is something which is the oldest one and DG beta is something which will be the newer one compared to all other. So just from that observation itself, we can say VHS should come first and DG beta should come at the end. So that's why option A will be the one which is correct. Okay. Go to the next one. This is showing a video history of how the video formats have evolved. Okay, this diagram. Black and white photographs of the bin are shown in picture 1, where black and white photographs of bin shown in picture 1 were shot using red, yellow, and green color filters. An additional black and white photograph was shot without any filters. From the given option, identify the photograph shot with red filter. Please note the photograph that will be shot with red filter and that of a blue bucket will have a darker tone to it. Because when they combine, we get a much darker tone, which is violet, which should be darker than what the color blue is. So straight away from that, A and B will be wrong. Between C and D, if you look at it, D looks more like a black and white version of the color blue, and therefore we choose the darker tone, which is C, and also it is also the one which has the maximum contrast of all. Because a red color filter is used, that's why we can also see a higher contrast. So option C is the one which will be correct. Okay, we'll move to the next one. Here are 2 sketches of Priyanka standing in front of a mirror. Spot the differences in the two sketches and choose the correct number of differences from the options which are provided below. We have to spot the difference and choose the correct number of differences that are there in the figure. Now here, because it's a figure where you can see a lot of elements, we'll go from element to element just to make our life easier. So this is fine. This is fine. Here we see the straw, which is turned weird. So 1. This will be 2 and 3 because the dark blue and light blue both needs to be considered. This will be 4. This will be 5, 6. And the nose ring is the one which is 7. So that makes a total of 7 differences, which is option B to be correct. Okay, we'll move to the next one. If a ball is placed in front of two mirrors at 90 degree or right angles to each other, as shown in the image, how many reflection will this ball generate? Here the correct answer will be 3, and I'll tell you how. So in this case, you have to imagine that the mirror, both the mirrors are going to complete the whole 360-degree circle. So if I have a mirrors placed like in this diagram, the lower left one was diagram, we have, when I have it at 90 degree, how the question happens, we have 360 divided by 90 will be 4. That's why we see 4 quadrants, 1, 2, 3 and 4. Of these, one first quadrant is the original candle and 3 other are the reflections. So the reflections that will be formed will be 4 minus 1, which is the original one, therefore 3 reflections. Likewise here in this diagram, when the angle is 60 degree, so the total quadrant that will be formed, because the mirror will try to complete the whole 360 degrees dimension, will be 6. And 6 में से एक आपका original quadrant आएगा ये वाला. So 6 minus 1, that's why 5 reflection, which you can see here. 5 reflections are seen. 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5. Likewise in this case also, where 360 upon almost 50 degrees the angle, which will be resulting into 7, and 7 minus 1, 6. That's why 6 reflections will be formed. So it's not, so the number of reflections in this kind of condition is dependent on the angle that the mirrors are forming between themselves. Okay, so it's not always 3. It depends on at what angle are the mirrors placed. Okay, move to the next one. For the object shown in the box, which option identifies the position of its center of gravity correctly? In this case, the easier way to do is to literally break the geometry. Like for example, T can be broken up into 2 parts, 2 rectangles. The thickness is the same, so I can break the geometry like this. This is the first half. The second half है उसका center ये होगा. Now the center, because it's a combined diagram, the center of gravity of both will lie on the point that on the basically the point which is the midpoint of the line which is connected by the center. So ये जो red line है उसका जो center point आएगा वहां पे वो center of gravity उसका lie करेगा. So that's where it lies somewhere along this terms. That's where option D is the one which identifies the correct position of the center of gravity. Okay, we'll move to the next one. Image in the box shows a 3D object. From among the options below, select the one that shows the same object from a different view. Now, in this case, if you observe all the options clearly, you will find that they are a part of only one view. They are, I mean, something or the other is changed, but then they are a part of only one view, one-sided view. They are not different views, okay? So it is easier that way, this question. So first, it's easier that way. So we could just compare all the options together. When you compare all the options together, one peculiar thing that you will find in option A, which is little bit different, is this part. C, B और D तीनों में वो same है, versus A में अलग है. So we'll find where exactly is that part located. Now this part happens here. और ये जो bottom वाला part है वो ये है, which means that this figure is first rotated in this direction 90 degree and then 180 degree उसको rotate किया गया है. So when you rotate 90 degree first, it comes something like this. And then उसको आप 180 degree rotate करो तो वो ऐसा बन जाएगा. So that's where we know A is wrong. Now, between the other options, B, C, and D, when you try and compare, in B we see this part, which is different than C and D. C and D में वो same है, but B में वो अलग है. So when you look at the question figure, you'll find both the C's are facing each other, so B भी गलत है. Between C and D again, when you compare both, you'll find this part, the bottom part, to be different. So ये bottom part, like I said, first it is rotated 90 degree. So when you rotate it 90 degree, आपको ये एक U ऐसा मिलेगा और एक U आपका ऐसा मिलेगा. Then you rotate it again 180 degree, इसको flip करोगे, तो from this is transforms to something like this. So clearly we know D is wrong and C will be the correct answer. Okay, we'll move to the next one. The circles in the image contains letters from F to V for purposes of identification of points. Directions are encoded in statements below in such a way that northeast stands for northeast, NE stands for northeast, and NNE stands for north-northeast, and so on. If all the following statements are true, select the correct representation of these statements from the given options. Now, just for your clarity, in a map, if this is north, south, west, and east, and of course the diagonal, I'll just also draw the diagonal ones. This is northeast, this is southeast, this is southwest, and this is northwest. In this case, the north-northeast is placed in this quadrant, which is closer to the north. This will be north-northeast. This will be northeast-east. Sorry, east-northeast, ENE, and so on. This will be ESE. Okay, this will be SSE. So whichever the northeast part also, if it is closer to the north, it will be written as NNE. If it is closer to the east, it will be written as ENE, which is towards the east, but in the northeast direction. Okay. So then we'll look at all the statements now, all the conditions which are provided. I'll just numbering it. So condition 1 says M is in the north-northeast. M is in the north-northeast of G. So M is supposed to be in the north-northeast of G, which means this is the position of M in G. So A में M and G ऐसे है, B also is fine, C also is fine, D में ये ऐसा है, which is wrong. So D is wrong. Next, L is in the south-southwest of N. L is in the south-southwest of N. So L is in the south-southwest of N. ये ऐसा आएगा. So A में this is fine, and C also ये ऐसा position है. Now what we are looking at is not L is in the south-southwest, so L cannot be towards the northern part. So C is wrong. Between A and B, when you compare them, we just look at P and K first. P and K, if you look at P and K, P and K का position same है A and B, so it does not make any sense to look at it. Next U and O, next वाला part में U and O, ये कैसा है, U and O का position अलग है, so we can definitely this can definitely help us in finding the correct answer. U is in the southeast of O, so it has to be, sorry, not like that, like this. So इसमें नॉर्थ डायरेक्शन में है, ओके, सो ये गलत आएगा, ऑप्शन बी was the one which will be correct. Okay, we'll move to the next one. Select the option that has the correct match. In this case, the option that has the correct match will be option D, Q for protection of ozone, and R1, unite countries to pursue sustainable development. Only option D is correct. If you want, I have prepared this. You can have a look at it, what conventions, when they were adopted, and the brief. Next question. There are 4 bins labeled 1 to 4 as shown in the image below. All right. So in this question, there are 4 bins that are labeled